I'm focused on this spirit cause it keeps me from this fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black T News. Hello. Welcome to Black T News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today I want to talk about, the press conference with the Anthony family, with Anthony Karmelo, who killed Austin Metcalf. And the dad showed up. Austin's dad showed up at the press conference. They asked the police to escort him out or get him to go. And then his advocate, trashed his dad for being there. Now, some people might want to look the person in the eye who took the life of their child. I don't know, but the things that they said about the dad were just so unwarranted because when this stuff first came out, the dad was on TV saying, I forgive him." And people were from the right were coming at him for being too gracious to this kid, and now they're just really ungrateful how they're treating the dad. And then I also kind of feel his mom spoke, Carmelo's mom spoke, and it's such an unusual case. Because I'm like, how did this happen? The socioeconomic situations that you would think would maybe spawn off something like this don't appear to be there either. So that's very interesting. But I also want to talk about this case with the Maryland man from El Salvador who's been living in the US for a while, but he allegedly MS-13 gang member. His wife, who's standing by him and wants him returned, information has come out about domestic violence things that she has reported on, and more details, I guess, about his the accusations about him being an MS-13 member have come out. And the Democrats are really, really, pushing this story to try to get at Trump because the DOJ, people in the DOJ admitted that they made an administrative mistake because he can be deported, but he wasn't supposed to go to El Salvador, and they won't send him back. So, or El Salvador won't release him. So people are like, oh, there's a constitutional crisis because the court said that you have to facilitate it. And there's a question of what does facilitate mean? And what have they actually done to facilitate that? I don't think they really want him home. And even if they got him home, then they'd just still be, trying to deport him anyway because he can rightfully be removed from the country. And it does seem that these was credibly MS-13. But they just know how to pick him. They just know how to pick him like, oh, the nice Maryland man. It's like, okay, but his wife said he was a domestic abuser. And it's just not great for the Democrats. Plus, the Trump administration put out an angel mom to come and basically nail this in, put the nail in the coffin for the Democrats, to scold them by telling her story about how she lost her daughter to an illegal immigrant. So you can't out troll the master troll, I guess, with Trump. Like they know they're just better at optics. They don't always win the optics game, but he used to be a TV star, so they understand a little bit about how to tell a story. So Before we jump at everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream. And run my site, all the good stuff you guys get support. I very much do appreciate it and appreciate you guys. I do ask that you guys also check out different merch on the website, different t-shirts and different mugs and so on. So go ahead and check that out. You guys can also check out different books that I've written. And like well, this one is not out yet, but I'm working on this little children's book called Bigger about this little baby dinosaur. And I got more than children's book. I got historical fiction, fantasy, and nonfiction books like, of course, God is blatantly against abortion. And also I've got Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. Here's my abortion book though. And the same artist who drew the little dinosaur that I just showed you guys did the cover for that book. That's my younger sister, Tina. She's just coming off of a live. She streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Different things. I think she painted Mr. Fantastic today. She's been on a Marvel live action kick. So I encourage you guys to check out my stuff. There's a link in the description. It'll take you to that. And I thank you to those of you watching live, those of you interacting, liking, sharing. If you do super chat or stars or whatever on Facebook, thank you so much. That does help, the numbers and people watching and drawing and all that stuff. So thank you guys. And to those of you who watch the show back later, yesterday's show, by the way, was blocked because of the clip from SNL. It was blocked live on Facebook while we were watching it, and on YouTube they just eventually blocked it. So I'll appeal it for fair use. They're pretty picky, so I don't know. That episode might be might be gone, guys. I guess at least it wasn't a hard strike. I did decide about the karaoke thing. I told you guys that I was considering entering a karaoke contest, and I will let you know what I decided to do. There's like today, and then I don't know, maybe next week is another week for like the entry into the competition, the qualifying round or whatever. I don't think I'm going to do it because it's in a nightclub and I just kind of don't want to go to a nightclub. I didn't really want to go to a bar, but I definitely don't want to go to a nightclub and be around the might be weed and might be drinking. I mean, of course there's gonna be drinking, but I don't like the smell of alcohol. I definitely don't want all kinds of other things. So I don't know. I've never been to a nightclub, I don't think. And it's okay. I'll live. But I will probably still do karaoke at the restaurant occasionally. So I might still go live and do some karaoke and stuff. Probably not on YouTube, probably on TikTok, but I think I'll nip that little dream. But I also was having I don't know. I think the songs that I'm really good at that I sing all the time are church songs. There's a lot of songs I could do well, but I'm like, what song is really popular because the crowd was gonna vote? And I'm like, what are some big crowd pleasers? And I'm like, if I'm thinking about different one, like Journey's Don't Stop Believing. Like I can sing that really well, but everybody sings that song. When I sang karaoke, someone sang that song that night. Bohemian Rhapsody, I do pretty well. And but it has to be under 5 minutes. So I couldn't do that song. So I was just, I could do some Adele stuff. I'm like, but will that move the crowd enough? I didn't know. So I was having a kind of hard time deciding what I wanted to sing. If it was just going off of ability and not like the crowd being engaged, like, oh, I want to, like they had a good time or somebody danced or I don't know what other people would do. There's a song from Smash called Moving the Line. I can nail that song. I can nail that song. So I there is a karaoke version of it online. So I probably could have sang that song. I don't know if I could have won the crowd vote with it, but I know my vocal ability with it is very good. But anyway, I'm not gonna do that. um, so yeah, just wanted to keep you guys informed since you guys are interested. But first thing I want to mention before I get to the main topics of the day, there are folks rebelling in Gaza against Hamas. There's been some people speaking out against Hamas, and that's good. And I wish the people would have spoken up sooner about all this. And but folks are really getting more courage. I guess they just had enough. I guess a lot of them have had enough. And there's a lot of folks who have been speaking about the quote unquote horrors of what Israel has been doing, but they haven't been speaking up. I haven't seen a lot of folks speaking up on behalf of the brave Palestinians who are speaking out against Hamas. Because when people would say free Gaza, I'm like, yes, but we need to free Gaza from Hamas. Hamas, they they kill their own citizens. They launch rockets to kill Israelis, and then they don't even make it all the way, and then they fall down on their own people, or they'll silence folks who would speak out against them. People are scared. They do have support, like if you look at polling, if you trust the polling, and they were voted in by their people, but they've enriched themselves with the aid money that people send to the region. They steal food that's supposed to go to the people, then sell it back to them. They've taken money and resources that should have gone to infrastructure and building up Gaza for the good of the people, and they build terror tunnels, and they build have weapons depots at schools and hospitals and all sorts of different things that put civilians in harm's way. So if you like legitimately care about the Palestinian people and want them to live in peace and prosperously, then you would want them to be freed from Hamas. Is there enough of them who want to be free from Hamas? I don't know, but I don't think they should have a choice. I don't I think Israel should, one of their objectives for the war is not just to get the hostages back, but also to destroy Hamas. And with Hamas's ideological goals of destroying Israel, you know, I don't see how they have a choice. But the Hamas, they use the people as human shields, but they also can operate and do what they do because they do have so much civilian supported people on the ground who are holding people hostage and so on, or keeping things secret. So if enough people are finally, I guess, sick of this stuff and angry enough about all this stuff, um if both sides are working, Israel trying to actually destroy Hamas and the people rebelling against Hamas, that gets you to some kind of resolution faster. um you know Maybe folks will start snitching and saying like, hey, here's where the hostages are. There are like millionaires pitching money like, hey, if anyone wants to say where some of these hostages are, we can get them back. I will give you X amount of dollars if you will help, lead to a hostage being safe. And I don't think anything came out of any of those offers, but you know, maybe it's enough now that some folks want to stand up. But these people should know that they are supported, and I wish that there were more people who say that they really, really care about this issue, um, who would say something about this good turn of events. So I mean, they are. It's very easy to protest in the United States about stuff. When I had visited my sister when Trump was in his first term of his presidency, she was living down in DC working for the RNC, and I'm like, there's protests going on at the White House. And she's like, there's protests going on every day. Like, she said, literally every day. It's not a big deal. I'm like, people are protesting every day in front of the White House. I'm like, that is annoying. But it's really easy to do here. We have the First Amendment, people being protected, being able to say what you want to say and peacefully protest. If you start, advocating for violence, inciting violence and riots and arson and, all those kinds of things, you can obviously be arrested. You don't have the right to just do anything. But these people are legitimately risking their lives. So kudos to them. Hopefully they can get the change that they seek. But I did want to read this post from A.G. Hamilton. Hamas is running out of money because their main source of income since October the 7th has been stealing aid, though many suspect the UNRWA just delivered it to them, so it wasn't much of a theft effort, and reselling it to Gaza residents. The result is they don't have money to pay soldiers. The protests are because Gaza residents, while they don't like Israel, are tired of the war and being used as human shields. That's why they are also even starting to speak out about Hamas using hospitals, etc. Stuff everyone knew but pretended otherwise because the main media sources from Gaza are Al Jazeera and others working with Hamas to do all these things. Now, for the first time, Hamas is facing internal pressure to end the war. Their usual tactics of simply torturing and killing dissidents aren't working. Of course, all of this should have happened from the start. A better strategy and actual international pressure should have been given Gaza civilians a way to escape and separate themselves from Hamas. Would have saved a lot of lives. Yeah. But hopefully if there really is a strong internal pressure, hopefully it can come to an end. So I want to play this video. It's gonna be long. Mother of Rachel Morin, a Maryland mother of 5 who's murdered and raped by an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, describe what happened to her daughter, because she heard it in court, and the White House brought her on so she could speak about this issue. Obviously, because Democrats are targeting and attacking Trump due to his policies on immigration. And specifically with this Maryland dad who was, they just keep calling him like the Maryland dad, who was deported. And Trump will just not lay down. So they got a real compelling case here. This is going to be kind of probably difficult to listen to, but I want her to be able to tell her story. And again, these people, Trump did, media for a while. The Democrats, they want to weaponize and emotionalize stuff and get their people believing one thing. They're good at leading their deranged people all kinds of different ways. But this is a real story from a real victim who suffered real great loss. And Trump is putting her out front to explain so people can understand the stakes of not having control of your country.
A lot of you don't know the whole story about Rachel and about the crime that was committed against her. Even us, her family, we didn't know all the details. They kept most of it close to their chest, the detectives, because they didn't want to do anything to hurt the case. They wanted to keep the integrity of the case, so they kept everything close. I sat for the last 2 weeks in her trial, and we saw layer upon layer upon layer of evidence against the accused, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. And the things that we thought, well, maybe this might have happened, we didn't know. But when we were at the trial, we got all the puzzle pieces. And I want to share some of those things with you. You know that Rachel's a 37-year-old mother. She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a safe place for our family. It's where we go to get a little bit of New England, because that's where we're from, New England. When she went on that trail that day, she was not planning on dying. She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards. Victor Martinez, he waited for her. He waited for her to come closer. He saw her. He saw that there was nobody around. He attacked her. He dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. It left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. But before he did that, he stopped on that trail, and rocks, still stained with her blood, he used them to hammer her head against those rocks. They say at least 20 times they could count the cuts in her head. They said that when they did the autopsy, and I've seen the pictures, there's a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull is shattered the way that you would crush an eggshell in pieces. 3/4 of her brain hemorrhaged. Her right and left side of her face bashed in. Her beautiful face bashed in. Her head bashed in. Broken bones, fractures. He takes and he drags her some more. He drags her through the thorn bushes. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. She had a fractured rib, fractured nose, fractured skull. And then he takes her into the tunnel and he picks her up. He throws her against the wall. Blood is gushing from her head. Her hair is soaked in blood. And they showed us pictures of her body against the wall, outlined. The blood outlined her body. And you could see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. And then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story. They said that when they did the autopsy on her neck, that one of the things they do is they open up the neck and they look to see how far the injury is. And they went all the way down as far as an injury is possible, hemorrhaging in the muscles because of how strong and violent the group was around her. These are the kind of people that have no compulsion. Like, to them, this is nothing. And when he was sitting in the courtroom, he actually looked like he thought he was going to be set free. There was no remorse on his face at all.
This is really hard to listen to. And gosh. This is why when there was that conversation, the debate last year between men and women, like, if you were alone in the woods and would you rather encounter a man, or would you rather encounter a bear? This is why a lot of women say that they would rather encounter a bear, because they say a bear will probably only kill you. I mean, there's other things bears can do pretty harmful things, but as far as the sexual graphic nature plus how violent this human being was to another human being, people will say, well, it's not personal to the bear, or the bear will just usually leave you alone unless you're like messing with its cubs or something. You know, I wasn't one of the people who said that I would take the bear, because most cases you're not going to run into a situation where you see a man and they bother you at all. You're around men all the time. A lot of men are very good. If I was lost in the forest, I'd probably need that man to get out. To be frank, I'm just really bad at direction stuff. I just don't have a good sense of direction. But never have. But I can understand their thought process. And there's one friend of mine who's like usually really, really rational, and she was like, so like this is why we said the bear. And after the Lake and Riley story came out, she's like, this is why we said the bear. She fought for 17 minutes. This is a different case, but this is the details are horrific. So it's not just that these people have lost their family, to know that they died in such a terrible way, and in such a someone tried to take their dignity from them. It's just awful. I mean, even I can't imagine the hurt. Like when the first time I like really had a big like um breakdown. I had a couple breakdowns like when my mom passed. But one that was pretty bad was because we had my sister found her in the bathroom, and we were just like, how that happened. She was very unexpected. She wasn't sick, and she had a flare with like diabetes some time ago, some years ago, and she had kind of went into like an unresponsive like state, and they're like, why wasn't she taking her medication? We're like, she's not diabetic. Like it was a shock. And so then she's like just really started managing what she ate, and she would exercise, and she would check herself. She was very diligent about that. So we were like, when we first heard that she was like unresponsive, we're like, is she having another episode like that? And was it something that she ate that spiked it? And then after the autopsy, they said that it was her heart. And we really didn't understand that. We were just really floored. And I just idea, I'm like, she was in the bathroom, everybody was like upstairs and stuff, and I'm like, was she in pain? Was she scared? So I remember talking to my young sister about that, and I just, um started kind of crying and a little hyperventilating in the kitchen and stuff. And then we had a doctor friend who my oldest sister talked to her about it, and described the condition she had, and she's like, yep, that was quick, that was painless. So that did give me like, some comfort that you know so I just I can't imagine the sort of pain this mother went through being in court, listening to how terrible these details were about how her daughter died. I just, so she's standing there in the White House explaining all these horrific things to the media, who's writing stories, pushing the Democrat agenda of everybody jumping through all these hoops to defend this alleged MS-13 gang member. And she's telling them, these are the kinds of people that we don't want in our country, that we would like to eject, that you guys are bending over backwards to try to prop up. I understand like the arguments about due process, and I would argue that as far as him being able to stay in the country and stuff, he's already had due process. He had a order that he could be removed, but there was the order about how withholding order about him not being able to go to El Salvador, that the administration admitted that they made a mistake with. I'm not even sure that they should have been allowed to do that either. Um, there's a lot of legalese and stuff involved with the back and forth with all this, but Democrats being like, we're going to El Salvador and we want to demand to go to prison and we demand to, and the president this and the fighting so hard. I mentioned this yesterday that so many Americans are probably just like thinking, you guys don't fight that hard for us. Y'all don't fight this hard for us. So y'all chasing a gang member down on a plane to get him back so he can just be deported again because he doesn't belong here. They're like, we need to bring him home. He is home. He is home. But y'all don't fight like this for Americans. That's how people feel. That's how people feel. Like they're doing all this stuff for this guy, and they wouldn't even applaud about the Lincoln Riley Act. There was a Democrat the other day who was at a town hall saying that she regretted voting for that. So they've just lost the plot on this issue. I'm gonna let her this story finish playing out.
This person took my daughter so violently and so gruesomely and so graphically that they sealed the pictures because I don't want my granddaughters to see these pictures. These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country. These are the kind of criminals that we need to remove from our country. We are American citizens. Why should we allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters? What? I don't understand why there's even any kind of problem with this. And it's not that it's political, like the left or the right, although I understand different parties have used it in the past. But we have to look at it as we are American citizens. We need to protect our families, our borders, our children. I don't care about politics. Well, I do, but I want to preserve life. And that's the only reason why I have taken and spoken about Rachel all this time. If you're a mother here in the room, can you imagine standing there alive? You're alive, and someone comes and puts their hands into your chest and rips out your heart. That's what it feels like. It feels like a part of you is being ripped out of you. You can't even describe the pain. Just like you can't describe to your husband what it feels like to carry a baby in your womb, or to feel those first kicks, or to know just intuitively if it's a boy or a girl. It's only a thing that a mother knows. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledge my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren? I don't understand this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ooh. I didn't expect to cry like this today. Ooh. Yeah, the senator she's calling out is Senator Chris Van Hollen. That's him if you didn't know. been outspoken. Oh gosh. So they've there's been other things that have come out um about this story. So a report from the wife that took place some time ago um revealed that he was abusive. So the person that they're fighting for so hard to come back, he's just not the face. You could argue that the administration made a mistake, that they need to do better with due process with the people that they're sending out, and that is valid, and the sort of things that they should focus on, laser focus on. And but trying to make him all sympathetic and stuff opens the door to people just really looking into this guy and criticizing him and the Democrats for just chasing that L. So this is from the Daily Mail is reporting this. Wife of deported Maryland man reveals horrors she experienced at his hands, a scathing police report. The wife of deported Salvadorian migrant Kilmar Agabriero Garcia accused her husband of violently beating her multiple times in 2021, court filing exclusively obtained by Daily Mail. Garcia, 29, was deported from Maryland to El Salvador by the Trump administration on March 15th over connections to the violent MS-13 gang. Since his reveal, which the Trump administration admits was due to an administrative error, Democrats have been pleading for the Maryland father to be released, arguing that he was unlawfully removed from the U.S. and that he is not a criminal. I got another story about that as far as not being a criminal. But in 2021, petition for protection from domestic violence filled out about Garcia's wife, Jennifer Vasquez, which was obtained first by dailymail.com, states that the alleged MS-13 member beat his wife multiple times over the years. In November 2020, Garcia hit Vasquez with his work boots, and in August 2020, he hit her in the eye, causing her to get a black eye, according to her petition. That same day, Garcia started driving quickly, scaring his wife. As their 1-year-old was in the back seat. In the recording, you can hear him yelling, insulting me, driving extremely fast. Vasquez told the authorities later that day she left the residence they shared after being afraid to be close to him. Her request continued. Then in May 2021, after an argument at the gas station, the Salvadorian migrant punched and scratched his wife, leaving me bleeding. Vasquez wrote, I have multiple photos, videos of how violent he can be and all the bruises he has left me, she wrote. Despite her past testimony against her husband, Vasquez has been publicly supporting her husband amid his detention in El Salvador. On Tuesday, she appeared at a press conference to call her husband's release. Stop playing political games with the life of Kilmar, she told the press. Her newly uncovered testimony comes the same day the Department of Justice released a report indicating Garcia was an active gang member, according to the documents released Wednesday by the Trump Attorney General General Pam Bondi. Maryland police stated in 2019 report that they believe the Salvadorian was a member of MS-13. During our interaction, authorities found Garcia alongside other MS-13 members outside of Home Depot in Maryland. At the time, he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie, which police say is indicative of the gang activity. The associates he was with were confirmed MS-13 gang members, and one of them was even discarded 2 containers of cannabis once they saw authorities approaching, according to the report. So the there people were saying, oh, him being an MS-13 gang member, like the evidence was scant and stuff, and even in different filings with the judge, they said that the information was flimsy, and I don't know why things just kept getting um not reported all the way, but the police mentioned that he was with other MS-13 gang members, and that's been lost in a lot of the conversation because they're like, well, there was an informant that claimed he was, and that he was wearing clothes associated with MS-13, as if that was the only evidence. But the fact that they were all together outside the Home Depot and had, cannabis, and that there were other members that he's associating with other members, and people are saying, plus the fact that credible sources are saying that he was MS-13, kind of helps to build that case that he's MS-13. So, despite past testimony against her, I'm sorry, I read that. Her new, I think I read all that. Officers know such clothing to be indicative of Hispanic gang culture. A gang interviewer sheet from the Prince George County Office Department stated, wearing the Chicago Bulls hat represents that they are a member of the good standing with the MS-13. Upon further investigation, Prince George's County Police determined Garcia was an active member in the cartel. Officers contacted a past proven and reliable source of information who advised Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia is an active member of MS-13 with the Western Clique. The PGPO wrote, the confidential source further advised that he is the rank of Chico with the moniker of Chile. The White House press secretary Caroline Levitt tore into Garcia during a press briefing on Wednesday. Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member, and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. She told reporters, MS-13 is, Trump delegated them as a, domestic terror, as a terrorist organization. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater, she added. If he ever ends up back in the United States, he would immediately be deported again. The new documents shed light on the migrant's past as a Democrat lawmakers to rescue the migrant from El Salvador most notorious prison, the terrorism confinement center known as COT. For example, the stunt meant to draw attention to Garcia's detention. Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador on Wednesday to advocate for the man's release. Levitt was joined at the briefing by special guest Patty Morin, the mother of slain Maryland mother Rachel Morin, who was raped by and murdered by a Salvadorian illegal alien in 2023. So they're really trying to push this stuff, and it's not a good look for the Dems. But there's another report because like, well, he didn't do anything. He doesn't have a criminal record. Like, what are you talking about? You just say that he's a gang member. Well, he's credibly a gang member. There appears to be the evidence. But he did illegally come into this country and shouldn't be here. So there's that. But the Tennessee Star also reported that he was stopped driving without a license, and the Tennessee Highway Patrol suspected him of trafficking the 7 people inside. So there's that. So from the Tennessee Star, Biden's FBI ordered the Tennessee Highway Patrol to release Maryland man recently deported to El Salvador after he was detained in 2022 traffic stop on suspicion of human trafficking. The Tennessee Star learned Wednesday that Kilmer Abrego Garcia, an alleged member of MS-13, who was deported to El Salvador under President Trump amid legal action claiming the removal was by mistake, was suspected of being engaged in human trafficking by a Tennessee Highway Patrol officer who detained him in 2022, leading to the Tennessee Highway Patrol to contact the FBI for guidance. Within 2 hours, the FBI ultimately requested that the Tennessee Highway Patrol release Garcia and the passengers in his vehicle. The Tennessee Highway Patrol complied with the request. The Star learned from sources familiar with the incident that Garcia was stopped for an unknown reason on December 6, 2022, and that the Tennessee Highway Patrol officer responsible for the stop immediately discovered Garcia was transporting 7 passengers with 8 individuals inside the vehicle. During a nearly 2-hour traffic stop, the officer determined that Garcia was operating the vehicle without a valid driver's license and began searching for information about him. So, I even people driving without like a valid license and him maybe driving people who he was engaged in trafficking or whatever. Maybe it wasn't last year. Maybe there was the end of the year before. I don't know. I think it was last year. I was stopped because of my tags, not my tags, my insurance. I was driving my dad's car and his insurance had lapsed, and I didn't know that. And so I got a ticket, and but the cop didn't show up, so I didn't have to end up paying the ticket. God, praise the Lord. But they're just like, we can take the car. Like, you're not supposed to be driving a car that's not insured. We can, like, we're gonna be nice enough to let you go. But, just so you know, we're gonna give you this ticket. See you in court. She didn't see me in court. She didn't show up, so I got that dismissed. Uh, but we can take your car. So it's just amazing the sort of things that you hear folks get away with, I guess. Something about the traffic stop caused concern in the mind of the Tennessee Highway Patrol officer that the law enforcement agencies should be alerted. One source told the Star that the officer ultimately discovered Garcia was on a terrorist watch list but could not locate Garcia on a deportation list. Another source told the Star that the officer did not discover Garcia on a terrorist watch list, but another one of the 7 passengers in the vehicle may have been on the terrorist watch list. The officer subsequently called the FBI, which was then led by former director Christopher Wray. Under the Biden administration, the FBI instructed the officers at the scene to capture the photographers of all 8 people in the vehicle and document its contents. Once the photographs were captured, the source told the Star that the FBI requested that they release all 8 individuals and that the Highway Patrol officers complied with this request. The Star learned that the circumstances of the stop made the officer responsible for the stop concerned that Garcia was engaged in human trafficking, but that Garcia and his passengers were nonetheless released at the request of the FBI. Information about the incident, including the identity of the officer's badge number, and the computerized dispatch report code assigned to the incident are all known to the Star, which is currently withholding this information. Sources familiar with the computerized dispatch report of the incident told the Star that the officer who filed the report confirmed that the 7 individuals in the van were being transported from Texas to Maryland by Garcia. Notably, it is a misdemeanor offense in the state of Tennessee to operate a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. Anyone convicted of this Class B misdemeanor faces up to 6 months in jail. The officer who detained Garcia temporarily is well respected within the Tennessee Highway Patrol, has served on special teams, and is based on a district located in the Nashville and Knoxville, which includes Putnam County. In response to Wednesday's press inquiries, the Star, the Highway Patrol, and Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security both confirmed receiving communication and that the communication staff would send responses which did not arrive prior to the press time. A comment request by the Star to the FBI seeking to confirm its instructions to the Tennessee Highway Patrol was not immediately answered. The Star also contacted the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation as the chief authority over the human trafficking investigations in the state to determine whether Garcia was released due to a TBI investigation, but did not receive an immediate response. An inquiry to the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees federal human trafficking investigations, likewise went unanswered uh, prior to the press time. Garcia is a Salvador. Well, we know that stuff. The repeating stuff we already said that we know about him. Trying to see. There's nothing else in the story that we don't know. So yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, right? So questions. Why did they all let them go? I'm sure folks will continue to investigate that. Very good scoop by the Tennessee Star there. I'll retweet that. If you follow me on Twitter, I just retweeted that post with the link to the story. So someone had retweeted this and said, if you don't charge the guy, he can't get a criminal record. You know. So and they said this is a game in California has played since Prop 47. That plus massive illegal immigration disaster. Like some of these people, they're just not bothering to arrest folks. And someone had also claimed, and I don't know if this is to be the case, but if the FBI won't take them, then the fees or whatever is like on the municipal, and I guess they don't want that taxpayer money or whatever. So I guess I'm curious why the FBI told them to let them go. So that's a question for Chris Ray, or I guess Pam Bonding, to figure out, in the senators or whoever wants to investigate that, and if this is worth calling a hearing about. But if the Democrats want to keep making noise about this, I guess we can keep making noise. They can keep making noise, but they're out of their depth with this issue. And there's a CNN report about how many people are pro deporting everyone. And I could play it. It used to be like, I think in the 30s in 2016 that people wanted to deport everyone. I'm sorry, this 38. Now it's at 56%. And that's everybody.
Deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump. And I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive. Deport all
so things have really shifted since then. And when Trump became president and they're like, we're going to enforce our borders, we're going to check all these people. Oh, people coming across with children, they're not related, we're going to separate them. And like, there's kids in cages. And there's that famous picture on Time magazine of that little girl standing in front of Trump and he's just looking down at her. That little girl was never separated from her mother. And there was so many crazy narratives that just prevailed that really put a dent into his presidency, but people have lived with the consequences of having an open border for a while, and the consequences of the propaganda that the media and the Democrats pushed. And so they give Trump a lot more leeway than they did in his first term, and they are more on board with the mass deportation compared to where it was before. You know, I don't even think 'cause sometimes Trump sounds like he can be a little soft on the issue, really, because he talks tough, but then sometimes you know, like in his first term, he flirted with giving some kind of amnesty, and there's some people out there, including on the right, I would say maybe probably many people who are like, people have been here for a while, you gotta like open some kind of door for amnesty or whatever, and I don't think if he crossed the border illegally that we should incentivize the bad behavior, and I don't think they should be citizens like ever. Is there, because some people are like, oh, they can pay restitution and just kind of go to the back of the line. I I don't think they ought to be like, maybe you could self deport before somebody catches you and try to get in, apply or whatever from the outside, but you know, but which by the way, there's people with expired HB1 visas who have decided to self-deport, because if they catch you, then I don't think you can ever reapply for the program. So there are people who were on expired visas who decided to go so they can just reapply again. So that's an interesting little factoid. But anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about this press conference with the Karmelo Anthony's family, and Austin Metcalf's dad was there at the press conference, and this is a little short video, but they asked him to leave. So they're upset that he was there and decided to talk some trash about it. Now, I don't know why he wanted to go there. Maybe he wanted to look his son's killer in the eye. Maybe he wanted to see their family, how they were dealing with stuff. Maybe he wanted to see what kind of remorse was going on. I want everybody to keep in mind that this man, right from rip, was on TV talking about how he forgave his son's killer. Right from jump. Right from jump. And he was heavily criticized from people, very much so on the right, talking about like, oh no, you ain't got to forgive it. Oh, they're just trying to make you not feel rightfully angry and fight for justice, and because of racism and the racial politics in America, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, he can still seek justice for his son while not holding unforgiveness or hatred in his heart for what happened, because you can still forgive someone and know that justice is owed, right? But I want to play the response from Dominic Alexander, who's an advocate for Karmelo and his family. And so I want to play some of the things that he said at this press conference, but this was in regard to Austin's dad being there.
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later, is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak louder than words. Okay? What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate, yet bigotry, and yet racism. We have conservative operatives that have been posting nonstop about this case. And all I'm going to say,
I was so annoyed. Angry, I guess, is a good word. When I first watched this, I'm a lot more mellow, I guess, from the crying from the earlier story, I guess. I don't know. But the audacity to say, oh, this shows this man's character because he came to this press conference, actually speak louder than words. I don't know what goes in the mind of someone whose son was murdered. A young man. He died in the arms of his twin brother. I don't know what is all going in the mind of this family, having to talk about this and deal with it, and then the whole country basically taking the story and deciding to dissect it all kinds of political ways, and it becoming a huge like cultural story beyond their control. And the dad who said, I forgive him, and even defined it, I think it was like this kid making a bad decision. He didn't say that this is some kind of evil thug who did X, Y, and Z when he was first asked about it. And maybe he's trying to come to terms with what he said or what he feels, or if that's really true. And if there's remorse, or how the family's doing it. I don't know all of his motivations for going to this press conference, but this father is grieving, and you're hosting a press conference. He showed up, and someone who's been so gracious to the murderer. People are like, he's innocent until proven guilty. He told you he did it. He told the police officers, I'm not the alleged killer. I did it. The question is whether it was in self-defense, which he's not going to win that case. And you can say he's innocent until proven guilty. That's what the legal system that is owed to him in the legal system. I'm not going to be on that jury to listen to the facts or whatever and decide. But we know what happened. He said it, and you're going to be very hard pressed to try to paint a situation that's going to make sense, that he had this knife in his bag that he reached out and he murdered somebody. He killed them, to say that it was self-defense, that it rose to that level of assault with a deadly weapon that led to, you could say maybe he didn't mean to kill him, but he meant to stab him. So the audacity to act as if though this father who said, I forgive you, I forgive him, he didn't even know if this kid was remorseful. I don't even know if he's heard an apology. And he said, I forgive you. And they come at this father as if he has low character. I don't know anything about these people. Maybe they're all low character. Who knows? But that he showed up at the press conference of his son's killer. How dare you be here? This just shows you how he is. It's just sick. And to the Karmelo family, Karmelo's family, their last name is Anthony. This gentleman who's speaking on their behalf, if they want, their son is going to go to jail. I don't know how you get around that. Like they try to invoke, and he did try to invoke Rittenhouse and Penny and cases like that. These cases are nothing like that. Daniel Penny was protecting the passengers on the train. He wasn't the only one who acted. He was the only one who was charged. He tried to put Neely into a recovering position. He didn't mean to kill that man. but he did it in service of other people and acted in a reasonable manner. This is not like that story at all. Rittenhouse, people were trying to kill that kid. He had extreme trigger discipline. It is not like that at all. It is not like this with its case. He rose to that level of aggression. Someone pushing you, and there's contrary sort of there's some kind of video. We don't know what's all on the video. But they're not going to be able to get this kid off on self. That just I would be floored. Now maybe I don't have all the facts, but I would be floored if that was the case. So these parents, their child is going to go to jail. They're not going to do the death penalty. They're not going to seek life in prison. He's going to go away for some time though. He's a minor. That's why they're not going as harsh as I guess they could be, and he doesn't have like other priors or whatever. But he's going to do some time, and he ought to. He took a life. I don't see how the family gets away from that. But if you want your son to have the best chance that he can have, you got to drop the clown representation. Rittenhouse, I mentioned this before, but when he first had his defense, he was saying some stuff online and posting some stuff, and it just didn't look good for his case. And he got a new lawyer that said, you need to drop this other guy that you're with. And I don't remember word for word what the conversation was, but it was along the lines of, do you want to be famous or do you want to be free? Do you want to be famous or do you want to be free? Do you want to win the case? And the lawyer told him, if your objective is not to win, I don't need to be here. If your objective is to be internet famous and memes and all the TV, all that stuff, that you can go with what you've been doing. If you want to win, because this is a serious matter, you got to act differently. You got to shape up. And so, of course, they ended up winning their case. Kyle ended up listening to good counsel. This is as serious could be. Your son did it. He was guilty. He's gonna have to pay in some kind of way. But if you want the best chance for your son, you gotta drop the clowns. You gotta drop the clowns. And then he also kept talking about right-wing stuff, and Sarah Fields he mentioned by name, who Sarah Fields was one of the first big accounts who posted the police report, which he got through a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And he held up different posts. And then at one point, this was crazy. He started telling me that they need to look into why the school even have the event go on with the weather. Why are you trying to distract from the fact that this young man killed someone? Now you're trying to drag the school into it because it was raining and they were at the track meet? What does that got to do with the kid stabbing somebody?
But Frisco ISD has notified of their intent to expel Karmelo Anthony from school 1 month before his high school graduation. That just shows me that Frisco ISD is trying to push off the blame. And what I have not heard the media say, as many media outlets have asked us what went on, I'm trying to find how many of y'all have asked the superintendent or one single board of trustee, why didn't you cancel or postpone? With weather in that magnitude, you couldn't have a track meet in rain or thunderstorm or clouds. Y'all are the media. Ask your journalists, your weather journalists, how the weather was that day and that time. Y'all do that research. Because as a person who is the administrator of your children, You are responsible for the safety of the children. And so it seems as if Frisco ISD is trying to push this off by making this decision that they do not have to make. So the Next Generation Action Network, outside of the legal process, will be going through different avenues regarding to ensure that we fight for the rights of Karmelo Anthony.
So why aren't y'all looking at the school? It was raining. You can't run in the track when there's clouds in the sky. Like, it's not, no, Bailey, it's not the weather's fault. It's the school's fault for not, I don't know, sending everyone home, I guess. Like, that, I guess that's why the stabbing happened. Here's a question. Would he have stabbed everyone if the school said everyone has to go home? He doesn't like to be told what to do. Oh gosh. There, Dominic Alexander, this man who's been speaking, Sarah Fields has reported a lot on him. I haven't verified all the things that she's saying about she says he's a felon who beat a baby. I don't know if that's the case. So but she's been reporting on him, and so he's been there's a video of him like just holding up different screenshots of things online. There's probably a lot of things going on that's misinformation. Like there's been reports about them buying a house with the funds. I don't think any of that is true. They apparently live in a gated community or whatever, and I don't think they've touched those funds yet. So some of the things that people are saying, oh, they went on spending sprees or whatever, I don't think those things are true. But so there is misinformation, as there often is with these things. I encourage people to try to be responsible with the news that they report. I apologize for any time I say something that might be wrong, but I try to. It's hard when these things are new and they're evolving and details come out. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons I saw people reporting about the house stuff and the car stuff the other day, and I'm like, I don't see how everyone can know if this is true. So I'm not going to at least spread some of that stuff. But I'm if they want what's best for their son, they should get rid of this clown. They should get rid of this clown for sure. I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of his mother talking though. And I do feel bad for the family so much that this is an impossible situation that their son has put them in, and it's so unusual because I don't see how this. Sometimes you could look at things and you're like, everyone's responsible for their own actions, but sometimes the socioeconomic things are like, that's typical, like, raised in the streets, no daddy, the streets was his daddy or something. That's not the case here. So I and they have other children and they're being threatened, and their lives are turned upside down by all the stuff in the media attention and so on. So I have sympathy for them on that, but they gotta drop the clown representation and just take the gravity of the situation with as much seriousness as possible. Like they need to have the moment that Rittenhouse had when his lawyer was like, do you want to win, or do you just want to make some noise and be on the internet and be a celebrity? Do you want to be famous, or do you want to be free? And they got a difficult road, and if justice is done, just from observing the facts that are aware to us that we know, their son's going to jail. But if they want him to have the best time possible, the best outcome for him, they better at least drop the clown representation.
In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about. The lies and false accusations that have been said about us, especially over the past week, has been overwhelming. The lies and their amplification put my family in danger, as well as everyone in our community, everyone involved in the investigation, from the police, the attorneys, and the court staff. Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family. His mental health is deteriorating day by day. We have endured death threats. My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what may happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false. We have not received a single dime from the Give, Send, Go fundraiser. And the co-founder has stated that clearly. In the reality, we were just notified yesterday that we could begin to withdraw funds. And it still takes several days to receive those funds once a request is made. I don't know why we are being targeted and discriminated against before.
April said she can't listen to it. She just muted it. I get you. Someone else just muted. She is correct that the whole family didn't ask for this situation, and harassment and stuff going online and in person, like people taking it out against the whole family, like that's unfortunately. I mean, I think that probably happened to folks happened to people prior the internet. Information is so readily available. I don't know how much is like online harassment and how much is like people actually harassing them, but the reason why their life is spiraling out of control is because their son murdered someone. Their son murdered someone. And it's not alleged. He said, "I'm the one who did it." He said, I'm not the alleged suspect. I did it. That's what he told the police officer. I mean, everyone knows he did it. That's not up to dispute. It's just a matter of them arguing self-defense. And I don't see how he's able to do that. So I can't imagine what they're going through, but your son did take someone's life, and you just need to tone it down. I understand she's emotional. And isn't probably trying to be all whatever. But needs to somber because of the situation. And saying that Metcalf boy, not a good look. I assume they don't want to totally throw their kid under the bus, but he did do what he did. I don't know how much they believe personally that the self-defense is a good explanation or good excuse or defense. It seems really wild to me to go that route. I would think it would be better if they could plea something, because he did it. And there, I know they mentioned, you guys are muting her, so I don't. I don't mean, if it's worth watching the rest, everyone's gonna mute her. But she mentions that their son is in a two parent household, and they believe in the Lord, fear the Lord. I don't now a lot of people say they're Christian, fear the Lord, go to church, and it doesn't apply to their life or whatever. So I don't know how deep their faith is, if they live it out loud or they're just loud about it and you don't see any fruits. I don't know. I don't know anything about them other than what's being portrayed here and what's in the news or whatever. I don't know anything about this mother and this father, and it's a terrible situation for them to be in, but their son did cause it. And they're and she did mention that she was so sorry for the loss of Austin. She does say that. So at least want to point that out. Um I I I'm so curious why Karmelo did this. Why was he carrying the knife? Why did he make that decision? And even the like touch me and I'm gonna, see what happens or whatever. Like, why aggravate? From what we know, I don't believe that they knew each other prior. If they did know each other prior, that's going into premeditation. So it's certainly not going into self-defense. So it's you don't assume that he's probably not raised well. I don't know. I mean, that just because you have two parents doesn't mean that you are raised well with good morals or whatever. But from my understanding, I think he was a decent student and all that stuff. So it seems so odd to me. I don't understand it. I'm really curious how this all escalated to this point. But my recommendation again, your son's going to jail. He took a life. He ought to. If you want him to have some more of his life to live by the time he gets out of jail, be somber, be empathetic toward the Metcalfs. And I understand making your plea to people about, like, please don't, harass me and my family, my young children that don't have anything to do with this, or we don't deserve this sort of harassment. Like, her daughter being afraid to sleep in her own bed, that's probably true. That's very unfortunate. And it's very unfortunate that their son put them in that situation. But you can make your case to the American people, or whoever around the world might be engaged in the story, to just have some grace for them, because they didn't stab the boy. But I don't know, if it was me, of course I wouldn't do it. But I also can't imagine if it was so clear that I did it, and I even said that I did it, and there seemed to be no conceivable reason why I did it that would make any kind of justifiable sense. My parents wouldn't go play along with a rouge of it was self-defense. They'd probably advise, like, some kind of plea. I guess, if not just telling the judges straight up to throw the book at them. You know, I had a parent be like, "You did it. You gotta pay for what you did." You know, I just, I guess, but that's their baby. That's their baby. I'm curious if there was outside forces or whatever that led to some kind of influence. Like, why did he have the knife, or was he just trying to impress somebody, be hard, or what? I am floored. This is so not typical. Someone said their parents would have washed their hands of them. Yeah, my that'd have been like, justice is owed, man. If you did it, and you can still let the Lord use you in prison, like is. So all of this is very strange. Anyway, that's it. That's the show for today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, article. Oh, sorry, press the wrong button. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost to stream, run the site, all the good stuff. So you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. You guys can check out my merch on the website. You guys can also look at the description. There's a link that will lead you to my Amazon page where you guys can check out some of my books. As a reminder, I will be at Motor City Comic Con in May, and I will have my books available for sale, so to be signed and stuff. But otherwise, you guys can get them online in ebook or paperback. Thank you guys thank you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.